Hello, I'm Clive Johnson, coming today from Brighton in the UK. Welcome to an emergency episode of Impact. I'm doing this actually without Alan's knowledge because I'm responding to breaking news. So we may well come back very soon to address this issue more fully. As I'm recording on the morning of the 28th February here in the UK, it's probably around about 3 a.m. where Ellen is in, I believe, Phoenix, Arizona at the moment. So I thought best not to disturb her, even though this is a very important breaking news story. A special welcome if you're listening for the first time. A big thank you to our new subscribers. Each week we look at one aspect of how we can connect our hearts to offer healing for others with our collective intention, prayers and meditation, and go behind the headlines of a critical happening in our world that needs our attention right now. And in today we are taking a look at one such critical happening, which for me the news has only broken in the last hour or so, and that is the attack, or attacks I should say, which are being exchanged between Israel and US and Iran, with reports of other incidents happening throughout the Middle East. This isn't one of our regular deep dives. We may well come back to that in a future episode, but really an immediate response to connect with areas where we might want to pray and hold intention. Of course, this is an important moment, I believe, hence an emergency response needed from those of us who believe in the power of prayer and intention holding, whatever your tradition or whatever your background. So I will suggest this will just be very much what comes to me, what is very much an evolving situation and beginning, perhaps some areas we might want to focus our intentions, our prayers upon. The topic, as you may have heard if you are waking up or whatever time of day it is for you, coming to the news, is that the much feared attacks threatened by the US and Israel on Iran have actually begun, and have begun in with real force, with many attacks across the country. It's believed to include the compound of the Ayatollah Khomeini in Tehran. Whether he was there or not is not known. And at this stage is not known what the casualty impact has been so far on the level of destruction. Very much an evolving situation. Iran responded very, very quickly and aggressively, targeting Israel. It sent drones and other missiles into northern Israel. And also Bahrain has reported that the headquarters base of the US Fifth Fleet Naval Fleet, which is based there in Bahrain, has been targeted. There are also reports of explosions in other Middle Eastern capitals, particularly in Qatar and in Kuwait. And as we mentioned yesterday in our intention, real worries that Hezbollah in Lebanon will also respond. They have threatened to do that, to take their attack to Israel, so to renew a war there. And Israel has already said that it would respond very firmly were they to do that. That, as we mentioned yesterday, is something that is strongly opposed by the current Prime Minister of Lebanon. And indeed, the Houthi rebels, who are Iranian-backed in Yemen, who have maintained something of a ceasefire, if that's the right word, or truce, over attacking shipping, particularly targeting Western shipping in the Gulf, have vowed to renew those attacks. So a lot happening. This is a conflict that has escalated already very quickly into something that could become explosive in the whole Middle East region. So let's take a moment just to allow ourselves to settle, become present, connect with our higher self. I want to close your eyes and take a moment to ground, feeling into the connection you have with the floor below, whatever surface is supporting you, resting in the reassuring, anchoring that provides, and allowing your attention to move from your mind to find its seat, as it were, deeper down in the body. It might be in the heart area, but very often, for many of us, we're going to find our attention, when we are yearning and when we are willing for something, initially at least, settles much further down in the body, more in the gut area, in the sacral area. And letting go for a moment of thoughts, as much as you can, just resolving to be present and to welcome an inflowing of what many of us will know as divine light into our lives, welcoming loving kindness, welcoming inspiration, welcoming divine presence, or if that isn't meaningful for you, perhaps receiving and welcoming the gifts that you will find at your source or from your higher self, or welcoming gifts of a benevolent universe. We turn our attention now to what is happening in the Middle East, and willing that there will be great courage and wisdom for all who are in the path or paths of these missiles at the moment, and maybe especially across Iran and in Israel right now, but really in many of those other countries, especially those affiliated with Iran, or where there's groups associated with Iran that are based there, such as in Yemen and Lebanon particularly. And think about those people who are hiding in their homes, many of whom perhaps have suffered much already in Iran through the protests and their repression, through endless civil war, through endless war in Lebanon, weary of another conflict, of homes and buildings and schools and hospitals being destroyed, fearful for their loved ones, without communication perhaps in many places, as communication services are disrupted or may even be deliberately taken down, infrastructure being targeted, water, electricity, normal everyday life, as it were, ceasing. So sending a real desire, a real will for great courage, for holding, for strength, for uplifting to all those who are in fear at the moment, continuing to receive and welcome what many of us will understand as Holy Spirit, and willing for hearts and minds to be touched, to bring great courage, to bring assurance, a sense of divine presence, if you will, of being sustained through this horror. We might pray for those who are at the forefront of this conflict, the political leaders and their influencers, their advisors. Of course, we think immediately of the Ayatollah, absolute ruler in Iran, and of President Trump as the most prominent, perhaps, amongst these. But knowing that there is much more that goes into the decision-making and can influence decisions around continuing and escalating, or in the horrible game of geopolitics, seeing this as a warning to each other, and through perhaps the unseen diplomatic channels, agreeing to step back, to come back to that table where they were just in recent days, negotiating. The sense with this that wisdom will prevail for the highest good, that there will be clarity around the real consequences for allowing escalation. And most importantly, that this same loving kindness we receive will touch and move hearts as it's seen what suffering such escalation would bring to people, the hopelessness perhaps that might result for achieving a lasting peace. And there would be a will to find a way to achieve the highest good, extending that desire for all who are involved and have any kind of role in potentially containing rather than escalating this crisis. So those who are among the rebel groups, among Hezbollah and other rebel groups, the Houthis, those who might seek war, seek conflict, seek retribution. We ask for wisdom for those who may be able to intervene, who may yet still have influence and the ears of the warring sides, particularly those in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia and Qatar and the United Nations, who may yet be able to bring a resolution, proposal, and encourage a return to negotiation. We ask for the courage of those who are in the military, whatever side they are fighting for, those who have been called up, who have been sent on aircraft carriers and frigates, and those who are on the ground, potentially being asked to carry out actions that they may be trained for but never want to put into practice, and putting their own lives in great danger in the service of others. Many very young, far away from their families, willing for them to be really held, encouraged, be strong. We ask for a movement of compassion, a movement of peace, for that to be the prevailing energy right across that region, Israel through Iran, and to the south through the Arabian Peninsula, north through Lebanon and into Syria. This vast area embracing many countries that has for so long and so often been troubled by war. Just allowing this flow of peace, this energy to move people. And where there are opportunities, and it is in the highest good, and where they may be wise to what their role may be, prompting individuals, citizens, who may have a voice, even yet where there is such repression, to know how to make their voice heard, to channel it, to be active. Those who have bravely demonstrated in Iran in recent weeks, being guided, each individual knowing what they may do that may serve the highest good. And so now, very gently and slowly, allowing yourself just to acquaint with the physical environment, the sensual world, becoming more in contact with what is going on around you right now, and allowing a return to mental activity as we end our time together. Thank you for joining. That about wraps it up for this emergency episode. Remember, you can connect with us in the Facebook group and for live intention holding in my daily Insight Timer offerings, and with Ellen in the Labyrinth Activist Network's Zoom calls. Details of how to hook up with these are in our show notes. Look out too for our next special topic episode, which we'll be releasing in the next few days. Thank you for listening and for sharing with us in Holding Intentions. We look forward to connecting again next time. In the meantime, thank you, go well, stay safe, and as Ellen always says, remember, we are more powerful together. Impact is presented by Ellen Binns and Clive Johnson and produced by Impact Productions. Our theme music is by Chris Collins, and our logo artwork is by Auto Classic. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, or your favorite podcast provider. We're a non-commercial podcast dedicated to people of any faith tradition or none who yearn for healing in our troubled world. Please pass on the word so others may join us in making an impact. Thank you for listening.